Hello, everybody, and welcome to Streaming Rainbow. This is our End of the Rainbow talkback. We're just going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. We're going to answer some questions. We got some audience questions. We got some cast questions. We've got some generic questions that I think are going to be fun to discuss. And we're going to go back and forth. It's going to be a good time. I am joined today by four incredible people, some of my favorite people. I'm joined by Sera, who is not playing Becky Beats. I'm joined by Danny, who is not playing Tankleys. And I'm joined by Tower, who is not playing Hollow Point Phoebe. And finally, the wonderful Eli, who is not playing Anita Answers. However, Eli will be in an Anita Answers role because Eli is going to be our wonderful, wonderful facilitator. So I'd love to kick the mic over to you, Eli. How do we want to get this started?
All right, everybody. So I might not have the blue wig on this time around, but I will be just as bitchy. So here we go.
Let's do it.
Just as bitchy. So no, honestly,
Thank you for the warning.
I think a great question to kick it all off, and it's a question that a lot of people have asked, which is what was everybody's favorite moment to play or of somebody else's part of it. Let's do a popcorn in this situation. I do want to hear everybody. So we'll start with Tower, because Diana can hang. So I want to know what Tower's favorite.
One bit. We have one bit with Diana, I swear. Favorite. Okay, here's the thing. There were a lot of good moments. I think in terms of acting, in terms of what I loved, especially, I think it was the argument between Eddie and Diana. It was so challenging to roleplay in a really, really good, fun way, and like, it was really easy to get in the moment. It was set up so well. It was like, especially with the foreshadowing of everything from the previous episode leading into it. Like, I think it was like, in one way or another, like a thematic peak for Diana at least, and it kind of like everything wove itself together after that. So just it was. So also there's a billion other moments, obviously, but that's the one that comes to mind.
I love it. And yeah, popcorn it to whoever you want to go next.
Oh, Sera.
Yes. So I think that my favorite moment has got to be the hospital scene, and that is because we got to finally sort of unleash the tension of this backstory that my character had since the beginning, that we'd been sort of throwing little hints in about, and finally I could just be like full emotion on this, and I really love the way it turned out. So that is my favorite bit. So I'm gonna popcorn over to Bastion.
Yeah, I had so many favorite scenes. I feel like there's a lot of iconic moments in this game, and I'm really happy how a lot of them landed. But I think my favorite scene is actually the first time we visit Eddie's family. And I feel like it added a lot of really good characterization for all of our players outside of the game, and a way that we didn't get to see very much of. We only had a handful of sort of out of VR scenes, and that one was the longest and most impactful outside of the hospital scenes. But more than that, it just felt comfortable. It felt fun. That's the kind of house that I grew up in. There's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of me in that moment that I was able to pull in, courtesy of the framework that Danny had given me for that. And it was just really, really comfortable, really fun. It was a good time. That was my favorite. I'll popcorn over to Danny to finish this off.
Yeah, I mean, what a gift. I co-sign everything that everybody just said, and I'm terrible at favorites. Can I just say the whole season? Can the whole season be my answer? Honestly, it was legitimately special. No, I'm trying to listen to my gut better, and my gut gives me a very clear first answer, which is do it. But the rhyme of do it. So I'm still kind of cheating, right? Because I'm giving two moments. Do it when Becky tells Eddie to go for the self-sacrifice when his player character dies, right? Which was a really, really beautiful moment. The way that the way it all came together across the board, and then do it in the finale, and the way that rhymes with how Becky's whole deal resolves, really felt like a profound gift. And that was the first thing that I thought of now, so that's officially my answer. Although really my answer is everything, and I could take up all our time, but I won't.
Of course.
This is the only question.
Exactly.
Sorry, everybody else.
All right, you want the whole list, or
Right?
I think a really great place to start is the beginning, which is the system that you chose, Bastion. So, what was it about Fabula Ultima that had you choosing that, and how did it define the story that you ended up telling?
Yeah, I have had the Fabula Ultima books for a long time. I've heard nothing but good things about the system. People who play the system love the system, and I've been meaning to play it forever. There's two on my list, Fabula Ultima and Lancer, that I've been meaning to play and have heard nothing but good things about. The problem is, my home game's kind of all dried up, so I haven't had an opportunity to play it. So I was like, okay, screw it. We're bringing it to Streaming Rainbow. We're going to make this a thing, right? And so that was part of the impetus for the overall theme of the season and the setting overall. We have a lot, there's a lot of meat here to go into, and we'll probably go into it in different questions, but the initial reason why I chose Fabula Ultima was just because I've heard so many good things about the system, and I wanted an opportunity to try it out. It's really as simple as that.
Amazing. It seems like a really cool system. So I like, just from watching it, has been really fascinating for my part of it.
This is not the way to play it, by the way.
Yeah.
This is
I mean, it's a way to
streamlining
play it.
Fabula Ultima through a funnel.
I
Yeah.
will say, having never played Fabula Ultima before, I had a great time. Like, separate from the performance and like how it all, like, it was just really fun playing it at the table with y'all. And Bastion,
Great system.
yeah, it's a great system. And Bastion, that's a lot of heavy lifting on your part, right? Because to make that system also fit this context and have it be fun at the table, you deserve a lot of credit for that.
no you.
No, you.
No, you.
So this is a question from Sera. So no performance is perfect. That's not true. You all are perfect in every way and can't do anything wrong ever. But so there is likely to be at least one thing everyone is unsatisfied with. What is something you would have each gone to? What is something you would each go back and change if you could? Any changes that you would have made to any of your performances? Hey, Sera, you got to answer it. You made the question. You got to answer it.
That's true. That's true. In the finale, Becky has a message to her sister, and I would have done it a little differently if I had thought about it a little more before I did it. I would have made it more about a message to her sister rather than just repeating the same words over and over. So that's me.
Next.
Oh, I got one. I'll pop in. It's
Do it.
it's also in the finale. I think it's it's also mainly the epilogue. I just wish I knew it was coming. It's the final episode. I should have thought about it a little more and just had a little bit more of a plan, because I think I was unexpectedly caught unawares, and so I just kind of worked with what was coming to me in the moment, and I think it still made a conclusion. It still worked. It still felt thematically resonant, especially with the connections to Becky. But I wish I'd thought about it a little more. I'm not sure what I would have done exactly differently, but I think I would have put a little more thought into how to frame Diana's closing moments. I think it was a little weirdly enough, a little too tied to everyone around her and not about herself as much as I think it should have been. But I still think it hit all the beats that I wanted to. So wish I could have changed it, but I'm still happy with how it turned out.
Did it hit all the Becky beats?
Hey.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And for that, you get to go next, Bastion.
Yeah. I have. So I'm my own worst critic, and especially going back and like editing my own show. Shout out to David, by the way, the one staff member who couldn't be here. David did the first round of editing, all the audio editing for everything, so that I could just come in and deal with visuals, not have to deal with all the like clicks and equalizing and things like that. But watching things back on the editing, I'm like, I wish I had just done that a little bit this way or a little bit that way. But I think there are two moments that stand out to me. One is the ignition file that Tankley steals from Princess. Never comes up again. I had intended to tie that in the ship sequence, but the ship sequence wound up being a lot more rushed than I expected. I didn't have as much time to sit in there and sort of explain things or build on things. It wound up being less of this moment, partially because the episode wound up going very long and we needed to get to an ending. So I wish I had something there. And the other like big misstep for me was the beginning of the Foros fight. The beginning of the Foros fight was intended to be a like, hey, you've gotten here before the antagonist. So now you have an opportunity to shift the arena in your favor instead of in the antagonist's favor. And I did not make that clear at all to my players. Really, that was what was going on. And so there's a lot of confusion in that moment. The pacing feels really weird. It's really stilted. And I wish that I had just been more upfront, like, hey, you have 2 rounds before the enemy gets here. This is the situation. Here are your options. What do you do?
Yeah. And Danny?
So mine's gonna be a lot less satisfying. I think that one of the beautiful things about actual play and I'd love to talk about this more if we have time or if anybody's interested, as an art form that's very specific to what it is that there's like this bifurcated approach to the storytelling. Meaning there's a story we're telling in the fiction, but then there's also the story that people at home are watching of us as human beings playing this together, right? So I like the imperfections. I don't actually regret anything. I wouldn't change anything. That's not to say I didn't do anything wrong or that there's anything that could have been like more optimized. I mean, the first thing when I was looking for an answer now, I was like, oh, I started off with a build that was maybe a little bit too worried about like covering its bases when I'm in a team, like I could have done something that was more focused. But no, it's good I did that because it was good I learned the way that I did. It was good that my character had to self-sacrifice, have player character death, have a reborn character. That was a lot more interesting than if I just walked in and been like, no, I'm gonna be more hitty. Like we discovered the story together through that. Perfect example, Bastion, like the confusion that you described right now, I fully get where you're coming from. From my perspective, was still satisfying to work our way through. And I would hope for people in the audience at home watching, depending on what they come to the show for, would also find that relatable, right? How many times have we been in a home game and we didn't necessarily make something clear or communication's imperfect, right? So we think we're clarifying something, but then other people are bringing other things to that and they're hearing something different. I think that's cool. It's all right. And also with an improv background and like a devised theater background, I used to do these things called the 24-hour plays where the phrase was like blood on the stage. Like you write it the night before and then you show up at 9 o'clock in the morning and they're like, you're in this. And then at 8 o'clock at night, you have to be up doing it. It's like 10 minutes. It's not crazy, but it's crazy to do that in a day. Each one is like 10 minutes, but it's like that. Let the blood be on the stage for me, right? At least let the imperfections be there. I will learn, I will grow. And hopefully it'll be more for people watching at home because we have that, right?
Yeah. Speaking of David, shout out to David. he had a couple really great questions. One that I will probably get into a little bit later, but this is the big one. This is going to be dovetailed into a question for everybody. But GMs often loathe power gamers, or at least are wary of the way they can break games, and generally speaking, to try to implement guardrails or strategies to minimize their outsized turns. In Bastion's own words, he asked for broken characters. So how hard was it to design a campaign balanced for 3 incredible players who not only created but so effectively piloted these broken characters? So that's for Bastion. And then once that is answered, I would like all of you to tell me how it felt to be given free range to build the most broken characters, because that is like
Danny.
a gift. I
Yeah.
have a question for Danny, which will come next. But anyway, so
Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say this answer might be a crossover episode, Eli.
Yeah, exactly.
Start with Bastion though.
Yeah,
Right.
Bastion.
So this game wound up being a boss rush in a lot of ways. And as a storyteller, I have a lot of tools in my belt for in-game adjusting difficulty for a boss rush fight, depending on how the players are doing, right? So a lot of it was making sure that each fight was set up with those tools in mind so that I could adjust difficulty on the fly. The thing about broken builds, especially the way that these builds were broken, is they tend to be really good at specific things. So you have a few directions that you can poke in that they're not necessarily as good at, right? So our characters, for example, all had terrible defense for the most part. So it was really easy to hit them. And most of the attacks landed until Tankleys got further on in his build to a point where he started getting more armor to make up for the fact that he was not armored. But shooting, like in the Foros fight, absolutely didn't work off the table. So keeping that in mind, to give a couple of examples really briefly, the clearest example is in the seed pod fight for Astra. I had a number of minions that I could pull at sort of different power levels depending on the players. We had our base sort of spirit minions, and then we introduced the ghoul, which was kind of the like mid-tier minion to pull in. And I had a couple of other minions at like higher tiers and lower tiers. I had little goblin things that could have sprouted out of the ground, like flowers blossoming, and I had this int creature that could have pushed its way through the spirit barrier, right? And then picking which of those creatures I want to introduce into the fight to create the stakes that I want, the like fear of death that I want. So that's kind of the tools, like how I handled it for all of the fights. All of them had these sort of escape valves that I could hit to adjust it. The other piece is, for these broken builds, I want my characters to feel badass, right? So part of it is I actually don't really need to do a lot of adjustment, because if they whoop someone's ass, that's great, right? Because they put in a lot of work to break those characters. Part of the game is feeling like they have broken characters. It's sort of the D&D shoot your monks philosophy, right? It's an easy dungeon master trap to, when your monks get deflect missiles, suddenly there's no missiles coming their way. But you want to shoot your monks. You want to give them the ability to use their cool shit that they put a lot of effort into getting. You want to have a Foros fight that can be crossfired the entire time, right? You want to have those moments where your players can feel really badass. Otherwise, what's the point of having the broken builds? If it's like, oh, you just upped the difficulty the whole time, so it just felt like a regular build. So there's a whole lot of this campaign design was based around the idea that they're like the characters were pretty busted, and that's some of the thought that I put into it in my general approach.
Yeah, awesome. How did everybody feel getting carte blanche to aggressively make a busted character?
I mean, can we talk about Danny's multiple planned builds? Danny's spreadsheet. Like Danny's.
This might be Danny.
Can we talk about it?
I'm
Can we
fully
talk about it
ruined.
yet?
I'm fully ruined. It's over. It's over. Bastion, you've ruined me for other GMs forever. No, it's the thing is, so I had previously anyway come into TTRPGs with a very similar ethos to what Bastion just described in general, right? A given game system, a given campaign might have differences, right? If you want to play something that's very low stakes, if you want to play something like you play like a trophy dart game and like, oh, you're supposed to come in, everybody's supposed to be greedy and super underpowered, and everybody's gonna die. Cool. Or like you play 10 Candles, where it's like a session of everybody knows you're gonna die at the end of this. Fine. All in on that? Absolutely. But if you have a game like this, or like a lot of like what they call elf games, right? Like a lot of like D&D or Draw Steel or Daggerheart or whatever, you're playing superheroes. Like that's what's happening. You know what I mean? Like in a fantasy setting, but that's what you're playing. So do it, right? Like why wouldn't you do it? And I've never been scared of it on the other side of the screen for what that's worth, because like Bastion was just saying, like he could have tuned us up whenever he wanted, right? Like it's the D&D version of that's like, oh great, I'm gonna give you a Tarask. Did you beat the Tarask? Guess what? There's 2 more. Oh, there's a 3rd wave. Like there's no bottom. Do you know what I mean? Like there's nothing to be scared of on the GM side of the screen.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And I do want to emphasize, fully legal. Like everything that we did there was rules as written.
100%.
So broken builds, but not like breaking the game, right? Like it's stuff that actually fits in Fabula Ultima. People could play it at home, right? Yeah. I don't want to take up the whole time though, so I'll toss to you all, and then I know Eli had like a follow-up thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tower and Sarah, any other bits or pieces or insight?
I mean, Becky Beats was not a broken character as far as things goes. She was a well-made healer, and that's it, and it's fine. You know, it doesn't all have to be broken. It was just what we needed, because everyone else was DPS or tanking and stuff like that. We needed a healer, or we would have crashed. And so I tried to make my brokenness just come from my choices in the game. So I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah.
What about you, Tower?
I had a struggle thinking of a broken build to do. I think I remember the pre-sessions planning stuff we had. That was one thing I was talking to Bastion about and everyone about. I was saying like I'm having trouble thinking of like the archetype to fill. Like I'm having trouble thinking about exactly what overpowered niche that there is. And then I realized also I need to simplify and remember what builds do I like having fun as, and just take that up to 11. And I love snipers. It's so fun to just sit in the back of the stupid arena and shoot to the other end of it for 1 billion damage and then just like flip them off because you're on the other side of the arena. It's stupid, it's overpowered, but that's the point of this game. So I just kind of leaned into it and then just made it stupid by adding dances. And it was just, and that's the thing, and it just became fun because there was a point where I but really leaned into what Fabula wants you to do, and it's look through all the classes and find exactly what you want to do, and find whatever puzzle piece you need to find in order to do it. And I added so much random stuff to the build. There's a dancer, there's floralist for plant stuff, there's lore master that was kind of just in the background the whole time. It was fun to really lean into what Fabula wanted you to do, and puzzle piece to figure out exactly what you want to be able to do with the game.
Mm-hmm. That's such a good.
As a JRPG player, like that's what I almost exclusively played. Yeah, that's very true to the
It's fun to patchwork it a little bit. It's a little Frankenstein-y, but that feels good.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously I put it in the Discord. So by the way, guys, get in the Discord. We're really rad over there. Yeah. So please.
It's in the description below.
Yeah.
We will continue to ask. But yeah, so I do need to know from Danny, and he promised he would tell me, how many forums were workshopped before landing on Naked Lion Man and literal pile of snakes with a hive mind?
So here's the funny thing, and this goes back to the whole me trusting my gut thing. Somebody based on the folks who do like showy anti-meta runs of things like Elden Ring, where they're like naked, was my first thought. It was literally the very first thing that I thought of. But I also came up with 9 pitches that I then brought down to 5 pitches that we discussed during session 0, that then we discussed offline and like zeroed in on 2 of them. There was going to be this one and like a no damage build, like one that where you're so speedy, like nothing can touch you kind of thing. But I was worried that it was going to be too like attention pulley and potentially in the way of like progress for the story. So it made more sense to go with this build. And I originally had a version of this build that was actually very meta. It's a lot easier to build in the system, that was going to have like provoke in it, the provoke mechanic, which is very powerful in Fabula Ultima, right? In order to just like pull aggro really, really aggressively and use that for control. Would have been able to soak damage, do very, very high DPS. And I was like, wait a minute, but that's not the story, right? Like this character would not play that build. That build's too boring for them. So I poured over the books, and in the Techno Atlas, which has optional quirks, which I highly recommend anybody at home playing, use the optional quirks. They're fantastic. Yeah, there was one quirk, the Beast Who Speaks, that unlocked this character for me, mechanically. And everything was built on that quirk. And if you're the Beast Who Speaks, conceptually, you are the Beast Who Speaks. You're an animal who speaks, or you're some kind of what would be considered Beast Who Speaks. So then I thought about that. I thought about the Olympus setting. I was like, oh, okay. So there's like these chimera sort of approaches. There's like a minotaur sort of thing. But then I also really like the pun of Heracles and Tankles, like tank. That like I enjoyed that. So I was like, I'll put that together. He wears a lion over his head, right, as a part of a nod to his like 12 labors. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to be like a lion dude, right? And I'm going to have the bolt damage, partially because it's mechanically helpful to have slow hit, and because I figured that there weren't going to be a lot of there would be some resistances to it, but it would go past a lot of other resistances. So there was that thought, but also Zeus, right, and the connection to Heracles. So all of that coming in together. When Letheon, the first Hydra head, killed that player character, and then I had to come up with a new take on it, and Bastion and I talked about, like, and the whole group really talked about, like, oh, it's going to be a lot more interesting if it's not just like I make the same build, right? I thought to myself, wait a minute, the next labor was a fucking Hydra. I'm sorry, we're cursing here, right? It was a fucking Hydra, right? Which is the thing that just killed me. So I'm gonna be a Hydra, right? Like that's where the snake dude came out of. Was he's got 7 heads. He's got 3 up top. His 2 hands are ahead. His tail's ahead, and then the chest burster is number 7, right? So like it is fully a Hydra, fully coming from that exact influence, because it came together too nicely. I didn't plan that ahead of time. It just realized it. And then from a mechanics perspective, in a way it was an upgrade, because poison applies 2 debuffs, not just
Poison's
one.
Crazy.
Poison's fantastic. Highly recommend that too. If we were to take it into further levels, because I'm the kind of player that absolutely built this character up to level 50 and then continued to change it as we went, right? Which is the max level in Fabula Ultima. I would have included other stuff with Dancer and stuff like that too, to pull aggro, because that was like the last thing I wanted to put in Rage, and then you can have all 4 on there. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
You really want to build a Fury character without taking a single level in Fury.
That was exactly my point. That was exactly what I came up. I almost did Dancer at the start.
You wanted to reverse engineer the Fury class through everything else.
That is exactly what you read my mind. That's exactly what I did. I didn't go with Dancer because I thought it was going to be too situational, so I went with Rogue instead at the start, which I think was a good call, and I liked having Soul Steal. Plus, it helped with the defense stuff that Bastion was talking about. But it's great. Yeah, I highly recommend Fabula Ultima. It's such a fun system. And what timing,
so fun.
Right? Because it ended up being that they had that incredibly successful Kickstarter that just finished up. And now it's on Demiplane, so it's like a great time to get into the system. And I don't know if you knew that was going to be coming. I had no idea.
Absolutely not, no.
So incredible time.
Yeah, I would say for the initial like character creation, my main sort of outline was that like you're playing people that are very good at games. You're playing achievement hunters of some kind that look for these types of achievements in different ways. And that's how we got a speedrunner and glitch hunter. We got the like challenge player, and then we got the like reporter, like absolute grinder, speedrunner type of approach as well. But to be perfectly honest, Danny had this whole story of like all the builds, but I pushed for Tanklies for the Tankles bit. That was it. That was the
Tankles.
selling point.
I loved it
the
so
whole
much.
reason.
And that was
It
there
was
from the beginning.
good.
That was there from the
beginning.
Yeah,
It was. It
Shout out.
was.
Never got old.
Shout out to Hallie's children and Bastion having a vendetta against Heracles, specifically. There's all the guys
One
could
more
watch
chance to
all of
haunt
the
him.
Streaming Rainbow, like
Yeah,
everything.
it's a
and
connected universe.
It's all
Everything.
connected. Also, funny connection. Tower played a snake superhero in Astral Ant Farm.
Sidewinder.
So
There's
snakes.
snakes. The
Snake.
We can't-
snaking rainbow. The slithering rainbow.
We-
Snake.
Stop it. Okay. Again, there's a lot of these questions. Like everyone had this question written differently, but were there any twists that I know there are twists that surprised you all. What were the twists that really got you in game?
Princess. It was
Yeah,
princess. It was princess.
That was the answer,
100%.
I think.
That was-
like
That was crazy. That was the
Yeah.
last thing I expected. It came. It was so. It was the fact it was just done. It was so dropped like it was nothing. It was brought up like it was a second thought, and then Danny, for your credit, you rolled with it, like so well. But just like it was dropped like a fucking boulder, and Bastion's like, "Oh, what? What's the problem? What's the problem, guys? It's just Princess is Annie's kid. Don't even. What are you all like making faces for? What's the issue?" Like, it was so just like. It was the biggest moment of like I think Bastion knowing how we would react and really like playing off of that, and it made it a really fun reveal.
Yeah.
I knew about Princess before the Princess reveal because of being a part of the Anita thing.
Of course.
So I was 100% in our back channel in Discord being like, oh, how big of an asshole did you feel like when you found that out, Danny?
Yeah,
It was
that's
so
the fun
good.
thing. What a gift. I had been dunking Eddie had been dunking so hard on Princess for episodes.
You are trash. You are nothing. Your build is garbage, and probably you are
Yeah,
too.
accusing her of being like pay to win, like, you know what, like just
Literally.
very, very, very good. Bastion, what a gift. Legitimately, like it made me so happy that that's how that turned. And I was able to lean into it in that moment and roll through what was inside just as much surprise as everybody else was expressing externally, because I felt so safe at the table, right? Because it also happened later in the season, we were in this rhythm already where I was just like constantly without a net, let's go, right? And I was able to, without a net, dive right into that too, and know like, you're catching me, we're falling together, this is happening, do you know what I mean? Like, it was wonderful getting to do that. That was really, really great.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk to in the Princess reveal. I'm wondering. So at the end of each of my sessions, I ask two questions that I have written down for each of the sessions here in my notebook. But it's basically Rosebud Thorn for the session. So what did you like? What was painful? What are you looking forward to? And then specifically, what would you like to see in the next game? And episode 5-ish, at some point, Tower had decided to take the approach of just giving me random bullshit that they wanted to see
You
in the
loved my
next
random
game.
bullshit. You loved it. Don't pretend like you
And-
didn't.
Just
It kept you on your toes.
animal. Just a literal animal. Just like a big
I
Yep,
old-
just
wanted
a large animal.
A large animal. I
Yeah.
wanted a large animal when I got Eddie's dog. And are you complaining?
No, that's when
Are
you got
all
the
They
rabbit.
got some
complaining?
bunnies.
Yeah. But one of the things that Tower asked in episode 4 or 5 was for a princess.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I need to add some complexity to like our scheme of antagonists. So let's give Kalis a second in command. And as I was building out Princess and the way that the players interacted with her, she was basically just Kalis 2.0. So after the first couple of episodes, I was like, okay, I need to characterize Princess as something different from Kalis somehow. And I sat down. When I'm planning, I do like a lot of like journaling. I sat down and I wrote like, okay, how do we tie Princess deeper into the story and make her significantly different from Kalis? And it hit like a lightning strike of like, we've already met like Eddie's family, because that was part of the thought process. Is there anyone that we've met that Princess could be? And I was like, okay, we've met like Diana's boss. That would be hilarious. We've met like all of Eddie's family, right? And then it's like, with how antagonistic Eddie had been, wouldn't it be powerful if that was his daughter, right? What if he had to rethink everything that he had done for the past week in game, for the past month out of game, and recontextualize all of that, right? And encounter and really deal with some of the things that we brought up in that home scene of like, they're not doing great on money, they're stretched thin, Emma is dealing with a kid and school and like trying to make an income, right? And like knowing that Bobby's getting older, Bobby needs their own room, like that we had already added a lot of fuel there that we hadn't lit on fire. And this felt like just a way to combine everything, these disparate pieces, and light that fire. So I think part of the reason that the twist works so well is because I also didn't know initially that Princess was Emma.
That's so good. And so good for this format, right? This sort of devised, improvised storytelling. I think that's really important to have that kind of trust, even in yourself, right, Bastion? To know, like, I'm going to figure this out, and then you do it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I want to, if it's okay, I want to quickly spotlight also another really cool thing you did with that, which was for my character, which was the parallel between Eddie having streamed when he was younger and not having been very good at it, and it having taken away time with his kid. And now his kid, that same kid that has all this complex emotional baggage around that, streaming themselves, being much better at it than he was, right? Like the actual streaming part, and having her own kid and having to deal with her own version of that exact same kind of tension was incredibly cool. What a gift! What an interesting, lovely thing to have emerge in the story for me to play with. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is a question from Tower for Bastion. Were there any fun hints or foreshadowing for later dramatic reveals? Obviously, Princess was Tower's fault. We now know. It has been
Thanks,
revealed.
Tower.
You're
That is,
welcome.
that's
You love
Tower's
my
fault.
random bullshit.
But were there any reveals that the players didn't pick up on?
I added a lot of hints around the like spaceship existence, what it was for, and the players picked up on some of that, but certainly not everything. And I think in particular it took them until the end of the Foros fight to like start to piece together like, oh, like these were like people that were like on this ship, right? There's also a lot of things that I added that weren't picked up until the finale or fully understood around this idea of like AGI. So one of the things that Danny inserted into the story at the very beginning was this rumor about AGI in Labyrinthos, and that's when they meet Irene in episode 1, with this like busted, weird acting NPC that's like, what's going on there? And I kept that train rolling with all of the Hydra heads, with the fates that the characters met, with Astra, with all of them like being far more interactive and reactive than they should be, like clearly not just saying canned dialogue, knowing things that they probably shouldn't. And I feel like that didn't really come to fruition until the finale, and even more so, a lot of that didn't fully become realized until I inserted some of the clips from Gans into the story, into these last few episodes, to give some of that context that I wasn't able to fully share. So I think like the players picked up on the foreshadowing and played with it beautifully, and like basically the whole game. But I think that's one thread that was dropped pretty early that could have led to like a less surprising reveal for them, but maybe that's good in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Let's see. This is from Bastion for you guys. So, what's some headcanon that you're holding on to but didn't make it into play? Does anybody have anything you can think of?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh,
Spill the tea.
no, yeah.
I have headcanon for after the season.
We love a girl.
Yeah.
My head, that's where
I think
my
that counts.
head goes. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
So it's like sequel stuff, but I just want us to do it. I'm secretly holding it. Like, yeah.
2026. Let's go.
Yeah. Now I feel like it does feel like a complete story, but in a way that does have an opening for, future possibilities, which can be lovely even if it just lives in our heads, right? But I do love where things land with Sera. I mean, honestly, a lot of where my headcanon goes is like, what is Sera's life like, right? After the end of the, I assume we call it a life, right? It's definitely something
Right.
new. Like, I don't know. Do you have any thought? Like, well, Becky's life, but like, do you have any thoughts on that, Sera?
Yeah, it's all a big blur for me. I intentionally sort of backed away from it at the end of the story. Because I just sort of wanted to leave it a world of possibilities in my head.
Sure.
Sometimes I'm like that. Sometimes I want to nail it down, and sometimes I just want it to live in the ambiguity. So yeah, I don't really have. I'm sorry. I don't have.
Nothing.
Do
Do you have any headcanons disconnected from the next life Becky stuff?
No, not really. I keep thinking it. I'm not getting anything.
Becky Reborn.
Becky Reborn.
So in terms
Seven
of,
heads.
yeah,
One in the chest.
exactly, one out of the chest burster, Becky.
Horrifying.
No, I kept thinking
Maximus rises.
I kept thinking of comps in other forms of media, and where Becky's stuff goes. It kept reminding me of this adult animation called Anthem. I think that's what it's called, if I remember it correctly. It's on AMC, and it's an adaptation. It's really interesting. It has to do with uploaded consciousnesses, and there's just a lot of really interesting like philosophical stuff in that. I also, if you remember the end of Shaun of the Dead, where, spoilers for the end of Shaun of the Dead. Are we allowed to do that?
If you haven't seen this
guys,
decade-old
like 20 some
I'm
odd years
gonna
old.
cry. I'm gonna sob and I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna get upset about it.
and I'm gonna bully you for not having watched that movie already.
No, I've watched like half of it. I just haven't finished it. Continue, Danny. Continue.
Okay, so no worries. There's an epilogue where the main character and the main character's best friend, who gets bitten and turned into a zombie, play video games together, even though one of them is a zombie. And not in any way that Becky's a zombie. If anything, Eddie's the zombie in that situation. But the idea of them getting to still play video games together, right? Like the fake Tiny Tinas that we made for this game, right? That they played together, that kind of thing. That I think is probably the clearest picture of headcanon that I have in my head of something after that. It's just like Eddie logging in and being able to hang out with Becky and getting to like just be up to shenanigans together while Becky's like ascending to a higher plane of, you know, existence, and Eddie's like just trying not to fuck up, like just trying to like be a better guy, you know.
So, assuming this isn't just headcanons about assuming this isn't just headcanons about like the future of things, one thing that I was one thing I had always thought about with Diana, and I didn't like do a lot with it because I didn't know, like, also bringing it up felt very like attempting to feel the spot, like steal spotlighty also, so I just kind of left the thread by the wayside intentionally, just because like it wasn't important for the story we were telling. But Diana's parents don't talk to her. They do not speak. They are not on speaking terms, and I kind of, like what Sarah's saying, I left it to myself intentionally vague why. I think there's a couple reasons in my head, but I've intentionally not really nailed it down in case I want to do more with this character also in the future, but also also just because it's not really important for her story. I just think it's an important thread to start from, but I kind of also realized that it wasn't super important to nail down, so that's like a little it's canon definitely, but like that's a little canon I had in my head that I didn't like externalize during the game that definitely drove a couple of Diana's decisions.
That's awesome. See, that's the best part about having headcanon, like, that you just keep to yourself. It's like, yeah, it's truly just about what powers your character. So
no, and it definitely influenced things. The hospital scene especially, I wasn't sure how I was exactly gonna like handle that, and I think that was a thread that I pulled on when thinking about how Diana might handle that situation with like a new older, like, kind of, I don't think intentionally maternal, but sort of like fills that void even if it's not like intentionally, you know? It was a thread that I pulled on, and it was good. It was good. But I'm sure there's also lots of little headcanons in my head if I really thought about it.
Oh yeah.
I have two main headcanons. Headcanon one is more obvious, that Kalis is actually a great dad.
Oh yeah,
like wonderful
100%.
dad.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah.
But the more controversial headcanon is that Anita Answers is Darla.
What?
Wow.
And that's where Darla makes all their money, and why Darla is always like tired and busy. It's because they're running a whole V-streaming empire.
Listen, bitchy.
Oh, I love it.
Really bitchy. Little annotated link comes up in the video showing what that's coming from.
I love that.
Yeah.
My sister you're talking about.
I think you could agree your sister was kind of bitchy in a best way possible. That's not bad. Okay, this is the other question. I think this ties in. This is a good segue. The last question from David, which was, what came first, the spaceship or the game? Or have they always been conceptual? Okay, so that's cool.
100% the game.
What made you? What made the spaceship? What brought the spaceship into creation?
Yeah, the spaceship did come into the game when I was building out the world, and it pulled a lot initially from Shangri-la Frontier. A wonderful anime. That's where a lot of the initial idea comes from, and I could go on about like why forever. It's but I wanted an MMO that was distinct from that. So I came to Olympus. I wanted to pull from like Greek, but badly. But there's a lot of like technology in the Fabula Ultima books and world, and especially because I had allowed for the like technology supplement. So I needed a reason for there to be that technology. And so that's where it came to like, okay, there are ruins that this old technology like futuristic technology sort of comes from. That's a common trope in like MMOs and games like that. So let's pull that in and say like there are a lot of these ruins dotting the mountain, and then as the story started to sort of progress in my head and in planning, as like, oh, like these Hydra heads are from this spaceship, right? And then it wasn't until the first couple of Hydra heads were defeated that I was like, okay, what's at the peak? There's got to be something at the peak for the players when they get there. And I should put some thought into that, right? And that's where it came into like, oh, like this is the front of this massive spaceship. That's the whole mountain, is the nose of the spaceship. And the rest of it is broken off and flying above. And that's when the whole sort of thing came together.
Love that.
But it started with the game.
Amazing. Throwing back for everybody, another question from Tower. If all of you could add one additional scene to this game, what would it be and why?
Astra with a gun.
You know, I was trying to think of something with
I
Astra
should have
also.
given her the gun. I'm a fool.
No. Astra was so special. I swear to you, I was also sitting here thinking, like, what could we have done with Astra? Like, a little bit more. But then I thought to myself, like, I feel like we got a pretty good amount of, like, Astra backstory stuff in, right? So I kind of don't feel like we need more of that. You know what? Because of choices we made, and I think this was a wonderful decision because there were consequences to our decisions, as there need to be. We didn't end up getting to encounter every Hydra head as fully as we otherwise might have if the game had gone differently. And that led to us learning less in the way of lore about one like member of that crew specifically, which we did get more of later. We did get to know something there. I think if I don't regret any of that, to be clear, right? I think it's perfect that it went that way. I love what that did to the stakes. I am like a lore monger, right? I want gimme, nummy, right? Like I want as much as possible. So like if I could have had more of them, maybe that, you know?
Yeah. I have so many scenes that I would like to add. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's cool. I was saying just a minute ago about how it's all sort of a blur after the game ends for me, how it's just a mess of possibilities. But I would add in an epilogue, like a whole epilogue episode, just to give that extra bite to the way that we ended it. We could have, a scene for everybody, and to shore up their happy endings or their moderate endings, if you wish.
And maybe a level 50, like multi-tier boss battle that we could do.
Maybe
Our little battle royale.
Hosted by Anita, right? Anita hosted it.
Of course.
We do like an anniversary rumble with Kalis, who's like one of the top streamers in the world now.
Eli doing like a WWE announcer with Anita.
I just pull microphones from my ceiling.
Yeah.
We just roll initiative now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's one. I was trying to think. I think I was originally going to say Talos also, because I'm also just so curious about like what that fight would have shown us, what the arena would have shown us, what more of that. Yeah, but like I agree with the decision and everything. I think it worked for the story super well as well, and also consequences. We got to fucking deal with them. But outside of that, I think what's coming to mind is I wish there was one more scene out of headset after the Kalis betrayal scene happens, but before the epilogue. Like, I think that, especially just after like the tenseness of how that ended, I think we had a couple like individual out of headset moments with that, but I think it would have been an interesting roleplay moment dynamic where they're all were either some of them, if it was some of them or all of them, were just a little more vulnerable, because they're all nerds. They're all on their computer inside all day, and I just had a tense moment, and then they'd have to confront it in their fleshy skin selves in front of people and not texting them in group chats. Like, I think it just would have been a very interesting roleplay moment, considering behind the screen, but kind of similar to how with Eddie versus with how Eddie treats Princess before and after. It's like how you are in front of the screen is different than how you are in person, and so just I think it would have been an interesting roleplay moment.
Can I co-sign that? I just want to co-sign that because something sparked in my head. All the more so because of that twist that came completely out of gameplay, was not, I think, even a conscious decision on anybody's part. Correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm misremembering. So Kalis sets himself up as like, if somebody needs to play the villain, if that needs to be me, great. Mm-hmm. We become the villains, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When your ult goes off, when your ult goes off and you incinerate permanently the accounts of a ton of noobs, we're the villains in a way that propels him, skyrockets his streaming career.
We give him everything he wanted.
To him after that, right? Like, that's a really cool thing. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
My in and out of character biggest oops.
It was good.
That's the funniest thing. It was such a good moment, and I 100% permadeathed the entire game on accident.
Yeah.
It's so genuinely. I forgot that we had that curse on my weapon, and that was a thing that we had. That's just broke me in the moment.
But isn't that so beautiful, right? Like,
yeah, it was great. It was fantastic, but also, holy shit. Oops.
Consequences. Who knew they happened?
Yeah, consequences.
Consequences of my own actions.
I hate asking myself questions, but Danny did ask me a question that I guess I should probably address, which was, what was it like coming into the campaign as Anita in episode 9? How did I prepare for such a strong guest appearance? What did I discover after? And what would I want to do with Anita if the chance to play in the sandbox, if I had the chance to play in the sandbox again? First off, it was awesome. Bastion sent me a message being like, how do you feel about spoilers? And will you do me a favor? And I said, I'm in. Hold on, let me order a wig. I ordered it the same day. That wig was purchased just for Anita. I didn't do anything to prepare. Bastion gave me a dossier about all of you and everything, because at that point, well, no, I think when you asked me, episode 1 hadn't even gone yet, and then filming happened after. I'd only seen episode 1, so I didn't know that you said it was Tankleys. I learned how to say it correctly only because I was like, oh, okay, good, because I would have said Tankles 100%, which in hindsight would have been really funny. I should have done that. I should have leaned into that. That would have been very funny. So I had a lot of really spoilery information that. But had no context whatsoever, so not really a spoiler. I didn't understand why Eddie had two character names. I didn't understand. I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know why. That's weird. Like, it was so funny. But I did know that Princess was Emma. Like, all these little things, which was such a funny thing. So again, I've been in the Discord being like, and then the reveal of what Becky was going through, literally right before I came into studio, and I was like, hey Sera, I love you profoundly and deeply, but fuck you. Like, I felt awful. I felt truly awful when I watched that episode. I was like, listen, I know that I run a game in hell. I'm going there now. That is me a place in hell. So it's been really funny to again see pieces fall into place from that. it really it's always nice to just like what did I asked Bastion, I was like, what do you have an idea of like who this character is, like I have the idea, and I was like, I'm gonna try to channel my inner Maria Menounos right before a movie. And Bastion was like, I hate that I know what you're talking about. I wanted to be that like movie phone, like, guys, come back and check it out. Like that was the personality that I wanted to bring into this, but like weird kind of, I've had so many people be like, you look like a mermaid version of oh my god, every nerd is gonna kill me. The jester girl.
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, mermaid Harley Quinn.
not
I got that a
Pomni.
lot. That was a lot of people when I was showing them pictures. But yeah, so I learned a lot. I've gotten context for all the mean things I said to you all. So thank you for that. That was really fun. And what would I do? I would want to, like, if I got to play Anita again, like I'd want to be that like streamer. Like I'd want to be that character, like that. I'd want to play that like bitchy, like fake as hell, like streamer archetype who's like, oh, I'm so bad at this. Hey guys, thanks for the sub. Like it'd be that bullshit character. It'd be really funny, but like this really deep, like this deeply, profoundly, like bloodthirsty, power hungry person. And I'm always happy to play in a game with Bastion, no matter how many times he makes me sad.
I appreciate what Hunger Games vibes you brought to it, right? With the aesthetic meanness.
Yes.
Like I feel like you could absolutely be that host, you know? Like that's the energy, and I'm here for it. I want more of it.
I heard VR talk show host, and I said, bet. I haven't been in drag in a while, so here we go. That is the most makeup I have worn since coming out as a trans man, and so that was very weird to watch myself. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but okay, cool. Anita is a drag performance, and I'm here for it. So yeah, so that was Anita. It was a pleasure. It was so much fun.
Anita
Again, I love
is
being
real
Anita.
Anita.
Do you feel Anita? We've got so many questions. Bastion, this is from M. Did the players make any choices that surprised you?
Oh God, yes. Every single choice. I'm very bad at predicting things. Every choice. I'm a sandbox style DM, which has actually been a challenge that I'd love to talk about at some point coming into an actual play space. But I tend to spend a lot of time building the world and the NPCs in that world so that they can react to the players and what they do. Because especially when you're dealing with like power gamer performers in an actual play, what they can do is insane. And I need to have enough framework of the world to react to that. But to specifically answer your question, the two things that really the thing that really surprised me, one was how immediately they hated Kalis.
So, I mean,
Kalis was supposed to be like a friendly rivalry. Because I was like, hey, this is our game about like glory, and I want like there's another competing person who's like a great gamer, and like we're gonna share like tips and things like that. And I tried to characterize him as like, oh, like he's got this newbie guild that he really like helps out and invests in. He writes these guys. He's really active in the forums. Like he's a pretty nice guy. The first encounter with him, he's like, hey, here's like what I'm seeing on this boss. Here are the tips. Like I'm glad y'all are here. And just full hate on Kalis that I could not avoid.
Danny went for the throat, and we all followed suit.
So it's my fault
Immediately.
at least in some part, right? I bring a little bit of.
You definitely sparked it, but we definitely encouraged you.
I know, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You yes-anded the hell out of that. And I'm grateful for it. Just here's the thing. Conceptually, I thought of Eddie as this anti-meta player, right? Who is going to be resentful. In my experience, I've modeled to some degree that part of him on some people that I've played video games with at like high competitive levels before. And they don't tend to like people like Kalis, right? Because they don't tend to like like a lot of people who are in Kalis's position, in my experience, at least to some degree, have some amount of power hungry ambition, right? And are gaming for that. So the resentment is there. The way that Eddie took it, the way that Danny decided Eddie took it, right? It's not like magic. In that context was, oh, you have a newbie guild that you're using to farm shit and get you information and support you while you're doing like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're using these players. Yeah, they're getting something out of it, but you're getting a lot out of it too and giving less maybe. Was why. So I'm sorry, but also like I think it was cool for the story, hopefully.
It was cool. I had to rewrite most of the story beats after that. But that's that's okay. And then the same thing happened actually in the finale with Gans. Because I've spent so much time journaling on like, how do I make this guy not come across as like creepy or overbearing? And I ended up on the like, okay, he should come across as like slightly autistic and a little irreverent. It was the goal for him. And I think it was like the first epilogue with Tower, where Tower was like, and we all know Gans is kind of an asshole, right? I'm like, what do you mean? So I think my lesson for that is, in future streaming Rainbow Stories, if I want my players to make their characters interact kindly with another character, it can't be a white man.
No. Make it a
that's
little
fair.
crystal baby, and we will love them forever.
There you go.
Astra forever.
Or like
Literally.
a rotting mushroom woman who runs like
That's true. We fell in love with her too.
brothel or whatever.
But thick AF mushroom.
She's powerful.
Yeah.
She's powerful.
Or any of Eddie's family.
Or any of it. Yeah.
Any-
Honestly, what a gift the way that you. I want to double click on what you said before about how you were able to like bring a lot of yourself to that. I really appreciated that because it felt so homey and lived in. It's such a lovely, beautiful. Like I just wanted to snuggle up and be there. I just be there all the time. It gave me a lot to play off of past that point. So thank you. I did have a question about Gans, if it's okay for me to kind of ask a question there.
Yeah.
So we were in player only back channel. We were talking since very early on about like, what the fuck is this cryo chamber? Are we all like in a generation ship ourselves? Like, are we actually like moving through? Like, we were wildly off base, but like just theorizing a bunch in ways that we hope people at home were maybe doing also while they were watching this. And so we had talked about Shangri-la Frontier. I ended up falling in love with it. I'd only seen like one episode before we talked. I ended up watching the whole thing. I was looking at other potential touch points, and I came across an anime I still haven't watched because I saw it, I read the description, and I was like, I think you're doing this. I'm not going to spoil myself. But I didn't watch it, and it isn't what you're doing. So my question is, there is an anime called Gantz, like with a T, Gantz. And I'm going to read the description on IMDb. After their deaths, two teens are transported to an apartment with an ominous black sphere and must participate in a gory alien hunting game. So it is kind of an isekai thing, right? I was like, oh, purgatory, we're dead, or we're in a generation ship. This is what's like, that's immediately was spinning out. Did you put that in as a red herring on purpose? Was the name like coincidental? Was it something else?
I love Gantz, actually. It's one of my favorite horror animes. I'm a big horror anime fan. So hit me with your horror anime recommendations or talk shop in the Discord in the description down below. But love Gantz. I love the story. I wish it had more seasons. I wish that the reboot of it wasn't weird 3D like CGI. All of that being said, absolutely a coincidence. I panicked when Sera was like, and I'm gonna look at who wrote this code,
Right.
and I have an
You're like, oh,
old,
fuck.
I have an old coworker whose nickname was Gans,
Okay.
and I was like, I need a name that's like interesting and like somewhat provocative and unique, and like that was immediately where I went to, was that old coworker. I'm like, Gans, and pulled that in a sheer panic.
I love that so much. That's such a good
We love a GM panic name.
Unintentional red herring. Oh yeah.
Unintentional red herring.
So good. we've got, again, you guys all gave me too many questions to ask, and it's so good.
Just pick your favorites.
Okay, I'm curious because I want to know what Bastion meant by this question. Did you realize there were unwritten rules at the table?
Yeah, this is for my future tables. I'm farming y'all for advice. But as we played, did you feel like there were sort of like unwritten rules or agreements that weren't necessarily brought up, but we were all adhering to? Because we had a lot of like, hey, like, here are the things that we're focusing on. Here are the things that are important in the game. We talked about that a lot up front and like before each game. But were there things that y'all found y'all were sort of abiding by or leaning towards that just sort of came naturally as part of this game or this group?
Played a lift, right? I mean, stuff that's very like recommended across tables, right? And I think maybe, if not doubly so, in its own ways in actual play, right? But like, we're constantly throwing spotlight at each other, and we're constantly finding ways to support what everybody wants to do, and to make sure that we're making space for each other, but in a way that doesn't stunt ourselves. Like, we just keep momentum going forward. And same thing with failures, right? Like, it's almost easier, at least speaking for myself, to lean into failure in an actual play setting, because like, oh, that's good story, great. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing regrettable about that. From that perspective, maybe that, as far as I don't know if that counts as unwritten in the sense of, I think we talked about stuff around that. I want to spotlight your pre-care and aftercare was always consistently really solid in ways that helped at each session. And then even the communication in between sessions as needed was really good. And I think that's really important. It helped me a lot.
Yeah. Play to lift is not a phrase I've heard before.
So it's a LARP phrase, but it applies in TTRPG spaces sometimes. And it's like it's exactly what it sounds like in terms of throwing spotlight around what I was mentioning before. Like, if you play to lift, you play to make everybody else awesome, right? And if you play to make everybody else awesome, you're awesome. And like, the whole thing is awesome. And if everybody's doing it, then it's this virtuous circle of like, oh, better, toss to me, toss to you, so that kind of thing. And I think it pairs nicely with the idea of failing forward, right? Some systems lend themselves more to that than not. One thing I wanted to double click on from earlier that Sera mentioned about the way that Becky was broken, not because Becky's build was broken, but because Becky was broken, right? Because Becky was so smart. And so like,
Becky's brain is cracked.
Well, and I feel like Fabula Ultima is such a perfect system for that. Like, at a systems level, I think it's a great choice for that approach to a character, because Fabula points exist. And there is that co-authorial thing at the table that allows you, like, I'm going to use a Fabula point and I'm going to help invent something about this world. That is core to the game. There's a core gameplay mechanic. And I feel like you leaned into that really nicely, Sera, in terms of making Becky shine through the use of that and showing off something really awesome about this game system, right? Through the use of that. Because also, like, that's a Fate thing, but this is crunchier than Fate. And so for me, like Danny, the individual, I like this more, right? Like, I like Fabula Ultima more because it has more of that crunch that you can bring in, but you have that co-authorial thing. So like, yeah, you have a GM, it's not GM full or whatever, but you do have, like, people at the table make up stuff about the world all the time, and in a formal way, because we can spend currency on that. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. This is a question that I kind of want to just give to Tower, because Tower, you have less on-screen AP experience than others at this table. So did you approach your character differently and your character creation because you knew you're going to be playing on screen, as opposed to like if you were just building a character for like a home game?
I think a little bit, but also in retrospect and in thinking about it, I think I build my characters in my home game in a similar way to how people might build an actual play character. In the sense of like, yeah, I'm making them in a way that I think I'll enjoy, but also I want to make like in a way that doesn't feel like egotistical and trying to steal the spotlight. I want to make a spectacle. I want to make like a fun thing for people to see and interact with. I want people to enjoy interact. That's the thing. I think I build my characters like I'm playing an actual play for the other people at my table half the time. So I think for personally, I didn't really need to adjust that much in how I made that character, but also, I mean, making her just like a dying flower girl, like that's a fun aesthetic. That's a fun visual. That's like unique, and like the color difference with like the Magitech big old gun. Like it was just kind of fun. It was just kind of fun, and I kind of already talked about the building part of it, but honestly, the main thing that I thought about with that was more in tune with how Fabula builds its characters versus like building it for an actual play more than building it for an actual play specifically. Because Fabula really, really encourages building characters to work in a team effectively. That's like one of its main things it really hammers home throughout the whole book and every book. It's all about cooperation, not only in the role playing, but also in the planning. That's like why they encourage you to like plan as a team during initiative turns, to like plan out your things and everything. So a lot of the gameplay stuff that came into Phoebe's build was from knowing what the other two were playing and figuring out what gaps need to be filled and how to fill those gaps in the flashiest, most fun, interesting to look at way possible. So absolutely. Like yes and no, I guess.
Yeah. Was there okay, this is the thing that Bastion and I have talked a lot about. We find it very interesting, the difference between AP and home game. Like they are very different creatures. And
definitely
we could all talk about that for days, months, forever.
Yeah. I should make a series on it.
Oh, hey. 2016, 2026.
2016.
2016. Go all the way back.
We're gonna go back in time. We're gonna become famous early. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, I'll in Critical Role. Be in the,
Please. I want my own cartoon. But did this feel different? How was the experience? Did you even notice that much of a difference between more of a home game or like making something for production?
I think it definitely felt different. I definitely tried to put more thoughts into my actions, for lack of a better term. Not in the sense that I like explicitly act flippantly during my games normally. It's more of just you want it to be organic, but you don't want it to trip up others. You don't want it to make the story seem stilted. You don't want it to slow down pacing or anything. It's just a lot more thought went into every decision I think I made and everything I tried to say. Didn't always succeed. There were definitely a lot of times where I just kind of was rolling in the moment. But I think, well, honestly, this is kind of leaning into the question you asked earlier about unspoken rules, was that part of it being an actual could play, especially Bastion, you like to make sandboxes, which was very apparent during this game. And it felt, but it was a challenge a little bit to make the game feel like a sandbox without it really being one. Because it's not. It's an actual play. We have a path. And so like that was something that was kind of always in my mind as well, where it was like, yes, we have free reign, but also we don't exactly have like, it's not uncontrolled free reign, it's not undirected free reign, it's not just like murder hobo, let's go to whatever like region we want to and find the big boss and slaughter them. It's we have direction, we have a point we're trying to make, but we have to make this world feel organic and feel like any decision we make is something that Bastion didn't expect, which oftentimes it was, but stuff where it's examples like going to the different regions and everything. Like those are kind of pre-planned things, but we also need to make it feel like it isn't as much. It's a hard balance to it's a hard balance to find, and that's something I think I was thinking about a lot throughout the course of the game, was how to make it feel like we aren't planning some things, you know? Yeah,
For
I think
sure.
that's my 2 cents.
Did you guys all talk about the story you wanted to tell? This is for everybody, you know, like to help guide that whole idea of like making the sandbox, hiding the railroads inside the sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a few specific things to talk to here, and I'd love to hear the players' feedback as well. But there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes in actual plays that like doesn't make the screen. That is some of that planning, because we are honestly actors first and players second in a lot of these like actual plays. The players get to know more about the story beats, and they get to know more about what's coming up. Not every story beat, right? Still some things are a surprise, like, hey, princess. But for example, with the fight with Letheon, when we went on break, I sat with the players like, hey, I understand that like you want to like talk your way out of this fight, but it's just a combat. Just fight the metal lizard in the sky. Like, and there are things like that of like, hey, in this episode we're going to do more of like this thing, or like we're going to explore this thing, or like Becky's cancer surprise was something that all the players knew about from the beginning, and it was like finding ways to sort of push that in. So the players get a lot more story knowledge and like upcoming like what's going to happen knowledge because of the format, so that we can plan towards it, so we can all sort of push towards this thing of like, hey, we have to get to this point or to this beat, right? So that's how it goes sort of ongoing. And of course there's a lot of planning up front, but most of that's driven by the players and what they want their character arcs to be.
Which I would argue is not entirely dissimilar than what happens in some home games, right? Like we didn't know how we were going to get to Becky's cancer reveal. We just knew that it existed. And in some home games, that would be a secret between the player and the GM. But in some home games, everybody knows at the top. And part of what it is, we figure out how we get there, right? I thought that balance was great for whatever it's worth. I did not feel railroaded in like the pejorative even once, right? And I also didn't feel lost. Like I didn't feel like I didn't know what to do or we didn't know where to go. Like it always felt very balanced and sure-handed to me, and on the GM side, but also in terms of like what we were all doing at the table together. Just from my perspective, it felt like everybody was moving in a great direction together. You know, which I thought was really really nice. I did have a question about the sandbox thing, if it's okay to interject that, because you mentioned that you wanted to talk about that more, Bastion. What did you want to talk about? Like, what about taking sandboxes into AP?
Yeah, they don't work. That's the main thing.
I just don't.
But this one did, right? Like, I mean, you
yes and
well,
no.
we didn't like have a sandbox fully though.
Exactly.
Right.
The way that I have sort of like picture it in my head is that you don't have a sandbox, you have like a path that you're wandering. You can have meander in and out of the forest and things like that, but you're walking on this hiking trail, right? If I just drop my players in the sandbox, there's a lot of hemming and hawing of like, hey, like, what if we do this? What if we do this? And planning, for the most part, in an actual play, really boring to watch, especially if it's just like anxious player FOMO planning of like, oh, if we go do this thing, then what about this thing? Or we didn't consider this thing. And it's really easy to get stalled up, especially with very smart players, which all of you are. So it has to have a purpose. We have a story that we're telling. It's not a world that we're experiencing, if that makes sense. In a home game, it can just be a world that we're experiencing together and we're building our own stories here. But we have to consider the audience first in an actual play and build a cohesive end-to-end story for them. So I've had to do a lot of work in my actual plays of figuring out how to do those like railroads and hit the story beats I want while still getting the flexibility and ability to react to players that I also want. And sort of the medium that I found is to plan out the big story beats initially. So like for Olympus, that was, I know we're going to hit 5 Hydra heads. It's going to be a boss rush. And then the last episode, they're going to hit the peak and there's going to be a big reveal. And that's the pathway that we're going to walk. And then after that, I only plan essentially the next story beat.
Mhm.
So at the beginning, I had things sort of thought out and planned until Letheon. After Letheon, I planned out till Foros. After Foros, I planned out to Koronos, and then Koronos I planned out to the end, which let me take these discrete chunks and make each of them feel like a cohesive story, while still weaving in pieces of the narrative that y'all had interjected.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt more like a board game where you're on one piece and that's our episode, and then you got to go. You have to go to the next piece. There's only one direction you can go, and like we would find out which direction that was after the episode as you asked us, like, what do you want to see in the next episode? And then in the beginning, a lot of the shape of the game sort of felt like, to me, it was determined in those between games moments, in like the after game and the early game. So that was pretty interesting, the way that it became an interesting thing where I would feel like I didn't know what was coming, and then after the game I would feel like, okay, I know a little bit of what the next one is going to be, and so I have a direction to go, you know.
Here's what I would say is beautiful about you being a sandbox GM in an AP space. You react to us organically, intuitively. I mean, you just talked earlier in this talkback about how you rewrote a ton of story beats because we decided we hated one of your NPCs that you thought we were going to be friends with. You know what I mean? Like, and they're the spoilers for people. Why would anybody watch this before the end of the season? He's the big bad. Right, like, you know, like, it's not like it's that is not railroading. Do you know what I mean? In the pejorative, like, it's just not, right? That is, in the best way, sandboxy. You know, Astra's another great example of that. We could have killed that bulb and taken a rare piece of loot.
I would have killed you before I let you kill that
I
bulb.
was never going to. But the point is, players could 100% do that, right? And you would have. I'm confident. I know from having played through this with you. I mean, please tell me if I'm wrong, but like, I feel deeply confident you would have rolled with that and been like, cool, great. Absolutely. You don't get your special NPC. Instead, we adopted a little baby person. Like, that was just like that we wanted to protect and love, and it's super important to the lore, right? That doesn't come if you're not a sandbox GM, right? Like, if you're too married into like, but my world and my ideas and my stories and my concepts and my stuff, but you still had a point of view and you still kept us in the shape we need to be to deliver 10 episodes of the best content that we can, right? I think that's cool.
I have the stats for the book that Becky would have gotten. Very powerful spell book.
I'm so sorry, Sarah.
Instead, I'm gonna find somebody to very quickly animate the cartoon of Astra getting put in and out of inventory with the meme music behind it. Da, 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 da. Just so happy. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here. Just a couple questions. This question is fast. So if all of you can, you guys have one message to give to your fans in character. What is the message? Diana, go.
Oh fuck. No, I can't go first. I need those. No, you gotta move Pat. I gotta move.
Eddie can always go. Eddie, go.
Eddie, go. I need to think.
So check out Princess on her stream. She's the best. Becky and I are mostly playing private games, but we're gonna guest on that sometimes. Check out Diana's new game. It's much better than any of the Greek games. It's slop. And in case I didn't say it loud enough, fuck Kalis.
Yeah.
I guess. Check out my Substack. Sorry about the whole killing your characters thing.
Might be.
Sorry. It's a little different for you. It's a little harder.
Fans. Shout out to the fans. I love you all. I hope that you'll still accept me as I am now, because I will accept you.
Terrifying. Hey, what's the message from Kalis?
The message
Oh,
from
true.
Kalis
Please.
is we're terribly sorry that Eidolon's Ascendant could not prevent this tragedy, but we are here to help you rebuild. Our guild is at your disposal. We have the resources, we have the entry-level gear. We can get your characters back to where they were in no time. Check out my streams where I'm going to be leveling with all of you on my new character as well.
It's no problem.
That's so
PR.
No harm, no
hard.
foul.
That
No harm, no
like
foul. It's fine.
so good. And I think this is a great last question. What is everybody excited for next? Either in-game or your personal life or whatever. I'll go. It's hell. I'm excited about Inferno. Catch us on whatever Friday it is, where you can watch Danny be another snake.
That's right.
Oh
Another
my
broken
God.
snake. So that's
Another
what the crossover
broken snake.
episode was. So
Just one
this
snake.
is
Never beating the slithering rainbow allegations.
Never.
I'm going to slight spoilers for episode 1 of Kanto 4. Rolled a 45 on my like check to hide,
Stealth?
right? Like on my stealth
Yeah.
check. Then rolled a 46. Then rolled a 50, which
Yeah.
was a nat 20. Then rolled a 50 on that. This D&D. I mean, we're playing Inferno over, like, it's Acheron Games overlaid on D&D. A 50. First of all, thank you every other serpent before me, and Eli for allowing these shenanigans. But yeah, really excited for that. Also, that's the main thing I want to plug. I have other stuff with Streaming Rainbow that I don't think I'm allowed to talk about yet, but like, look out for that. And then there's some like charity stuff I've been doing and whatever, which is pretty cool. And in my personal life, I'm just like super stoked to hang out with my daughter. Not me projecting that at all on Astra, because I
Never.
carry my daughter on my
Never.
shoulder like that or anything. Or
We
Or,
love a girl dad.
yeah, or the princess stuff, right? Didn't have anything to do with that.
No, not at all.
Tower, what are you excited for?
I'm excited to be in more streaming rainbow projects going forward, hopefully. But that's just more of a broadly in general, because this is a really fun project, and I think I dip my toes into actual play. I think I'll be more equipped and I'll be better than I was here. Not to say I was bad at not that I did badly here per se. I don't think that at all. But I think I'll do better when I do it more. And on a personal level, I've been in a real creative rut is the thing. I've been in a real creative rut, and I'm hoping the next couple weeks I'm going to be getting out of it. There's stories I need to write, there's games I need to run, there's game systems I need to keep working on designing. I have a lot of things I want to work on. There's a lot of things I have developing, and I'm hoping just getting out of this next week, I'm going to be able to start getting the juices flowing again. I think that's the main thing.
Love it. Sarah?
Me, why I have to tell you about next week when you will get to see the final chapter of Hallie's Children, my favorite story I've ever told, coming up. So be sure to tune in, and that's what I'm so excited for, because I've been playing with these characters and these wonderful people for a long time, and I can't wait for all the happy endings I'm going to give them and all of the terrible things that I'm going to do to them first.
Trauma.
Yep.
Bastion?
I am also excited for Sarah's show coming up and the slate of shows that we have coming up for Streaming Rainbow. What I'm most excited about, very selfishly, is I this week landed on my concept for my next show, and we're coming back to horror, and it's gonna be a wild experimental ride, and I can't wait to share it with y'all in 6 months.
Yeah. It's going to be a second.
It's
Um,
cooking.
So just
You're
hold on to that
cooking.
hype for 6 months.
Keep that train rolling. How many trailers can you make, Bastion?
Oh, this bad boy can make so many trailers.
So many trailers.
Trailers on trailers on trailers.
Yeah. I got a Canva account. Let's go.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna toss it back to Bastion to end the thing.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining me. This was a wonderful, wonderful adventure. I had an absolute blast playing this with y'all, building this world together, creating this story together. Y'all are amazing. Couldn't have done it with any other crew. Thank you, Eli, for jumping in as our guest star and for jumping in as our facilitator here. It's nice to be surrounded by all of my favorite people. It's going to be a bummer that we're not going to be meeting weekly anymore, but that's okay. I love all of you. I love all of our viewers, especially the ones in the Discord. And I can't wait to see y'all next week for Hallie's Children. Till then,
Pull up.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.